Hey, welcome to HR Famous, brought to you by Kinetics, the leading RPO recruiting firm for growth companies. Named by HRO Today as the top midsize RPO provider, Kinetics uses its unique skill-based recruiter model to deliver on RPO engagements, allowing them to customize scope to meet your unique hiring needs. If you have recruiting challenges and want to consider RPO as a solution, give Kinetics a call. Find them online at kineticshr.com. HR Famous is also brought to you by HRU Tech, a contingent staffing firm specializing in engineering, IT, and technically related placements across multiple industries. If you're looking for technical talent or searching for a career, look no further than HRU Tech. Find them online at hrutech.com and call them today.
Hey everybody, it's Tim Sackett, and we are back with another edition of HR Famous, the most listened to podcast in my household. With me, as always, are my friends Jessica Lee and Chris Dunn. Jessica, how are you doing?
You know what? This is also the most listened to podcast in my household and family. They do wonders for my self-esteem.
I know. Isn't that awesome? Katie, I know your family, your sons and your wife don't even know you're doing podcast. A podcast.
Nobody's listening. Nobody cares in my household. I have many more listeners outside than I do.
So
inside.
Before we got on the pod, we were talking about the boy trip. I'm heading down to Birmingham to go to the lake with my friend Chris Dunn. I got Brent got a fresh haircut and a new swimsuit, so we'll be all set. I can't
wait to see the swimsuit.
How long are the shorts?
I went 5-incher. I went to the real short shorts because that's what Chris.
That's a meme right now on TikTok. The 5-inch short joke. It's funny.
I don't do the 5-inchers.
I was thinking it was like Michael Phelps meets whatever. Jay and Silent Bob and Silent Jay, or Jay and Silent Bob, whatever.
It's a bucket list for me, is to be like that old, like that I don't even care, and I can just wear the banana hammock down on, like, walking the beach in Destin, Florida, and just not even care. Like, who, and I get that because when I was young, like one of my first real business trips, I got to go to Cancun for some president's function thing or whatever. You win like a sales thing. And I'm walking back in my suit, by the way. We had to wear suits. I'm walking back to my crappy hotel. The president was staying at the good hotel. So I'm just walking down the beach with my pant legs rolled up on my suit. And two old dudes are coming at me, totally like brown, charred skin, like the white hair back in the ponytail, with bright red banana hammocks on and giant beer bellies. And I was just like, I back you guys. You guys are awesome. I want to hang and party with you.
Tim, you don't have to name the company, but what was the business there?
Staffing.
I'm sorry?
It was staffing. I was there representing HRU, but that wasn't the president's thing. It was a bigger conglomerate of crap. But anyways.
Love it. Banana hammock.
You want to talk about a bunch of self-important people? Go to a staffing conference with a bunch of presidents of staffing companies.
All this talk makes me want to talk about LinkedIn and what's happening on that platform.
Same thing that's happening at that meeting.
We're going to get there. Before we get there, though, I straight pulled from the headlines, KD and Jessica, I saw that, there's a lot of stuff about the Postal Service right now. A lot of problems because they're like, the Democrats are upset that we're not going to be able to vote by mail. Trump wants to stop mail, go back to, something else, I guess. Anyways, the post office came out and there was like an audit that exposed the overtime racket at Democrats are trying to seek a bailout, and like there's big issues with the overtime. So I'll give you some numbers. I'm going to read through. This is from justthenews.com, so I'm sure it's legit. Overtime pay has become a predominant as America's premier mail delivery service, has more than 4,000 postal workers last year alone. That's 2019, actually earned more in overtime than their base pay, a 429% increase over their base pay. So let's go back down and read some of the bigger numbers. That overtime year over year actually increased from $3.7 billion to $1.5 billion last year, which equates to 100 million overtime hours, like totally insane. And then there was one other one you guys had. So here's the average. So you guys now have to answer this. So, and this is the Northeast area of the United States. A mail handler earned on average how much? What was with their overtime pay? How much did they earn?
I haven't seen it. I'm going to jump in, Jessica. I'm going to guess 89,000.
Oh, okay. Let's go Price is Right style because I was going for, in my head, 94,000.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. You guys are so close. The average mail handler Northeast area earned $205,000.
Wow. All right. Jessica's the
205.
closest. Without going over.
Without going over. That mail handler is making more than your used Toyota salesman, Tim.
So
probably close. I don't know.
Here's some of the things you'll hear, like on the trail, as people go after this overtime like stuff. And I don't mean campaign trail, Tim and Jessica. Here's some of the things you'll hear from the leaders and the people that are actually like responsible for managing that. I don't know what you want me to do, Jessica. Like you wouldn't approve the headcount budget.
Yep.
And here we are 4 years later. You've said no every year. So what did you expect? Of course, my mail handlers are earning 200,000 large.
Totally.
So from the news, here's what it actually said. Despite such remarkable findings, the Postal Service said it is not sure whether it should try to reduce the massively rising overtime cost. Increasing complement with the intent of reducing overtime may not lead to a long-term solution.
Here's what you'll hear on that front. Well, Jessica, I'm glad you brought that up. This is in an operational review. Glad you brought that up. We're hopeful. We don't think we need more people. We're hopeful that the new mail sorters will really help us out with this.
We don't need more people. We need robots.
So, Jessica, if any single hotel in the Marriott chain and you were analyzing their P&L with that general manager and you were sitting down trying to help them run their business and you saw that they were running 400% more overtime, wouldn't you maybe have like a staffing plan conversation with maybe we don't have enough mail handlers. Maybe we should, because you're paying at least 1.5, if not 2.0 on some days, that if you actually paid that to regular workers, you could staff so many more people in the Postal Service to get the actual job done versus paying overtime. Now, why do they think that they should run overtime? You two professionals of HR.
Well, so first of all, we need a good old spreadsheet to help analyze this situation. I am looking for a spreadsheet and I want to see some charts and graphs and I want to look at all the formulas that are in that spreadsheet because something's not adding up for me. But you know what? I mean, I like your joke to Chris about like what you're hearing on the trail, but that's exactly what's happening. People are asking for more headcount. They're not getting approved. They need to stay within a certain, number. And so you've got all these people working overtime. But there's so many ways that you could potentially break this down, right? There's a headcount piece. There's an efficiency play here that you may need to take a look at. If I am recalling correctly, the postal workers are a unionized workforce as well. And so, that there's some angle in there for, how their union reps are, involved in the dialogue and driving some of these decisions or lack of decisions. There's a lot to pick apart here.
9 collective bargaining agreements with 7 unions covering 550,000 career postal employees. The biggest one is the American Postal Workers Union.
That's a small number. I'm surprised it's not more collective bargaining agreements.
Well, they kept the headcount down, Jessica. So, go ahead, Tim.
Hey, by the way, so the Northeast mail handler that they're making the 205,000. Just for some perspective, because I know you guys love this, the amount of overtime required for the employee to work at that to get to that is 17 hours a day, consisting of 8 regular hours, 9 overtime hours for every single day of the year, all 365 days. So maybe there's a little fraud that's also going on here with this. definitely there has to be a stop to that. Anyways,
so here's what the HR consultant says: hey, new system guys and gals, you're going to be responsible for this portion of the zip code. We're not going to tell you how to get the mail delivered. You're now exempt. $80,000. Boom.
Bam.
So in all seriousness, though, like if I were in the shoes of folks at the USPS looking at this problem, or maybe I'm an outside consultant who's been brought in, like one of the things that like I really think like there could be some lessons to be learned on is by looking at the UPS. There was this podcast I listened to years ago around how did the UPS get as efficient as they are, and they talked about like measuring every tiny little thing, like time and motion studies, but also, details around behaviors to understand how do you gain more efficiency so that you can deliver more and deliver more quickly. So like, how long does it take for the driver to get out of their seat to fetch the packages? Where is the key in the car? Do you even need a key? What doors do they have to open? Do they take more right turns, left turns, et cetera? And like, there's no way that level of efficiency has been applied to these poor postal workers working how many hours a day? I mean, there's got to be some ways to get a little bit more efficient. So Chris, you're $80,000 a year, person who's going to analyze the heck out of it. More of them.
By the way, UPS also organized, in this case, by the Teamsters.
Yeah, that it is a classic kind of a bad union kind of long-term kind of rep thing that happens like with the U.S. Postal Service when you get that kind of overtime, fraudulent kinds of stuff happening where there's no possible way somebody can work that long, but somehow the rules allow them to do that. Anyways, so. I just, when you hear all the stuff going on in the news about the Postal Service not being able to deliver all those ballots on time, understand there's a crap ton of money being paid, a crap ton of overtime before you act like there's no money that's there. There's a lot of money that's there. All right.
And by the way, Tim, that also takes some of that issue, not all of it. It takes some of that issue away from the political lens, just in terms of what party, is more union friendly, et cetera, et cetera. So you gotta tread carefully on some of that. Although the big macro points probably still at play.
Yeah, I mean, again, any of us in HR, if we saw this going on or saw this happening with any of our leaders that were allowing this kind of payroll fraudulent stuff to be happening, we would pull them in a heartbeat and tackle this issue. Somehow the USPS can't do that. All right. So LinkedIn, KD said we were going to talk about that. And what I want to talk about was, what happened was I got pinged by a friend, I'll tell her who it is because, she's a friend of the show, Laurie Ruetimann. She'll do this publicly, but she also privately does it a lot. She'll send screenshots of creepy dudes on LinkedIn trying to hit. Now, if she puts it publicly, she'll always black out, the people. So she doesn't, she's trying to say, hey, this is wrong, but I'm not going to embarrass you. Privately, she will actually show us who the people are. And I'm shocked at some of this. But so I went out and did a Twitter poll. You can do that. Have you done a Twitter poll yet, JLee, KD?
It's been fun. A while, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm not into the Twitter poll scene, but I like yours. I've got some comments on this.
So I did a Twitter poll. I just said, female peeps, have you been propositioned for sex on LinkedIn? And then in parentheses, I did doing some research for a post. 169 people voted. I did actually get a lot of comments. And then what I realized was that my question was probably not the right question. It should have been, have you been hit on LinkedIn private message, right? Instead of sex. But even then, 57% said never, 23% said at least a dozen times, 3% said every week, 17% said once. So 43% of the females that replied to the poll have at least been hit on once for sex on LinkedIn. If I change that around, I know for sure it would have been much higher. I'm going to go to our resident female on the pod first, and Jessica Lee. Jessica, have you been hit on in a message in LinkedIn?
Hello, I'm Ruth Thomas, host of Comp and Coffee, where we break down what's next in the world of compensation management. From pay transparency to performance alignment, we explore how businesses are rethinking compensation to drive impact, equity, and growth. So if you're shaping the future of pay at your organization, grab a cup and tune in. Listen on the Work Defined Podcast Network.
Hit on, yes. Proposition for sex, no. But I'm pretty sure if there was a response to the person hitting on, it would have led there. So I know where those things go.
See, and that's what I think a lot of the females had said that too. They said, look, I didn't get hit on specifically for sex, but if I would have engaged, that's exactly where it was going. Now, Katie, I'll ask you as a resident male on the show, that you've actually, that's what you've specified that you are. Have you ever been hit on in a LinkedIn message by male or female?
I have not. I'm sorry. I didn't realize the question was over.
You didn't know where that was going.
I would be more comfortable if you would ask me, like you asked the female, like folks on LinkedIn, have I ever been propositioned for sex? No. I'll just say that, and I'll kind of do it in a tone that suggests no. I haven't been propositioned. I think this is a uniquely female like burden. What about you, Tim? Have you ever been hit on?
No, I mean, I'm sure in my own self-consumed way, I probably thought I was being hit on, but I wasn't really being hit on. My thing about this, so I can't believe we're in 2020 and that this is still an issue. And so then I'm like, why hasn't LinkedIn fixed this? And they actually in January of this year actually came out with a statement because there was a lot of people saying basically kind of the Me Too and some other things that came out. So they came out with kind of a members safe from harassment, thing that they were doing. So I'll read some of this and then we can kind of respond. We work every day. This is from LinkedIn. We work every day to ensure our members have a safe and professional experience on LinkedIn. One of the ways we do this is by not tolerating any form of harassment. Our teams have used a combination of technology, human review, and reports from our members to uncover harassment, and that we have taken action. In November, we shared the inaugural community report, which you can find on LinkedIn, where they took down 16,626 incidents of harassment in the first 6 months of 2019. Are you surprised by that number? 16,000 incidents of harassment in the first 6 months. That's reported or they found.
Well, so did they define, though, Tim, what kind of harassment in their announcement?
Basically, it's going to be something that somebody felt harassed, right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't necessarily sexual in nature. It could have been something else as well.
The reason why I asked that question is because, they, of course, have some level of responsibility. I mean, also, dudes, stop being creepy, please. LinkedIn has some level of responsibility, but men, please also stop being creepy and disgusting. But I actually think what's interesting here is their timing of this, because yes, there's also all things Me Too and, related to sexual harassment. But I think the more salient thing at the moment is, harassment around political views and social issues and harassment that might be taking place in people's posts, as it relates to other kinds of issues. And so in some ways, to address the sexual harassment thing, I actually feel like they're a little bit late. I feel like it's probably they had no choice but to, given what you see happening in social media forums everywhere. But to your original question, I actually think that number has to be low when you're broadening out the kind of harassment they're talking about. It's happening way more than that.
KD?
I think the biggest thing for LinkedIn is they can do anything they want to, right? So first of all, maybe put down more of the catfishing accounts that are out there. I mean, there are groups, right? There are message groups that share the latest account of the day. And by the way, a lot of times that can be provocative, female imagery on a profile photo, but it's a fake account, right?
Yeah.
But yet,
for sure.
From a total metrics perspective, it's not really in their best interest to take down fake accounts. That's number one. And then the other thing is, I don't know, Jessica could comment on this much better than I. So I don't know what a hit-on message looks like. I know that it exists, but if LinkedIn can tell me when Tim sends me a message or anybody sends me a message, and it can give me an AI suggestion that says cool, let's do that. If they can do that, then certainly they can do whatever they want. With the people that are sending messages that get right on that line. So, it's up to them.
So Cindy Gallop, so a reader of the show, when they saw my Twitter poll, sent me a link to another article out of Australia. Cindy Gallop is the founder of a company, you'll love this, KD, Make Love, Not Porn. She's a boomer. Looks like she's probably a hippie back in the day. And so she was going after LinkedIn really hard. She said she's been a member since 2006. And she's logged 14 male harassment issues that she's had. And now, so she says they should do this. At the top of every LinkedIn page where they currently run an ad, they should put in their own ad that says, this is a professional networking platform. Please do not say or message anything at LinkedIn you would not say out loud publicly or in an office. Please report any appropriate abuse, blah, blah, blah. And then a message or a link to where they can report that. The second thing was in the comment box that we had this grayed out. Please, she said, just keep it almost like an underwriting that says, please keep it professional. And then in the private message box, something similar that basically you would keep a grayed out thing where it says, right now it says write a message. She says, please ensure this message is professional. Please report inappropriate messages, blah, blah, blah. If we just did those three things, it would stop all of this. Now, God bless Cindy. What did you call that when that at Marriott?
Poodle.
Oh, poodle. I God bless Cindy. Poodle. Oh, poodle. I don't know if that's going to stop. Now, the same reader who sent me this link also said, now, Jessica, you said you've been hit on. Katie and I have not. She says that she gets hit on more by foreign men. She's a U.S. person than from U.S. men. Now, so maybe there's a cultural thing there where somebody outside of the U.S. is taking a look at LinkedIn more in a social network versus a professional network. I doubt it highly. But anyways, that was her take. But again, we Laurie Ruetimann, shout out to Laurie. You can go check her out. New book on the way, but that she has. But she's actually sent us screenshots from dudes that we know in our industry that have done this, and it's shameful. It's shameful. They know she's married.
Two things, and I want to ask JLee a question here, and then Tim, you can reflect on this with the stuff that Laurie sent you. First of all, the suggestions for all these big block messages on LinkedIn to guide us in messaging seems a little bit analog. Maybe we should mail a box with something to put on our desk to remind us to be professional on LinkedIn too. I don't know. In the world of AI, I think it's a little bit much. But here's my question. And this is something that might make people think. So Jessica, I'll give this to you. Tim can come in and share Laurie's message. What's an example of a hit-on message? Because I don't think I've done it. I don't think I do because that wasn't my intent. But what's an example of a hit-on message that if you engage leads down that road? And Tim, you've seen the ones from Laurie. So if JLee needs to think a little bit about this, you can come in and share that.
I mean, there's very obvious ones. If I receive a message that says, hi, you're pretty, or, commenting
hi,
on my
beautiful.
Looks, that isn't overt or aggressive. I know where that's going.
Right.
And I just will block you at that point.
Okay.
I think that people might not realize it, but I interpret it that way. Certain use of emojis. We don't know each other and you're winking at me. I don't need your winky face emoji.
Okay.
And I can, overly friendly behaviors coupled with an emoji could be heading down a, certain path. So there are subtle things like that, signal for me that possibly it could be heading in direction. By the way, though, real quickly before we like move off of this though, or keep going on Cindy Gallop though, here's the thing.
Yeah.
Like Cindy Gallop's like reputation and the way that she's become popular is about her prior experiences dating younger men, and her whole thing of make love, not porn is about like real world sex videos. And so when you are in this space as a public figure talking about real world sex videos, encouraging that, I'm not going to say she's bringing it on to herself, but she's in a space where she's opening up dialogue that is very personal in nature. And so I'm not forgiving these creepers out there who are sending her messages or saying her ideas aren't valid, but like there's certain, like, I don't know. I'm going to leave that with you.
JLee, quick follow up. When you get the message that says you're pretty, and there's probably not an apostrophe in your,
I know it's YOUR.
When you get that, is that dudes from a place like Monaco, Morocco? Is it somewhere in Asia, Lebanon, or is it American?
No, I wouldn't say it's specific to a part of the world.
Okay. So a lot of Americans coming in warm like that.
Yeah. You know, Katie, but you bring up a good topic, because I don't think some of it is not, it's just, you know, but I think women, like from what I've heard, they feel like it's like, no, like that they're being like, it's going over, like it's like they would never send the same message to them that they're sending to me. And so it's things like, it's like, oh, hey, I see you're going to be at this conference and we should get together for a drink. And, you know, and like now you and I would not get that same. We'd say, hey, I want to talk to you about a product. Is there a time we can meet? Like it wouldn't be as kind of informal as that. So I do think that there's ways to interpret that where some dudes be like, oh, I wasn't doing that at all. And you're like, dude, you were fishing, you're trying. Come on.
Tim, what's some of the, so Jessica answered the question. When you think about what Laurie shared, you know, what are some of the discrete ways where it kind of follows the line of what you
they're seeing if they can get somebody to fish with them kind of a little bit.
Yeah.
No, I think it starts off with a looks thing. It's always like, you know, I've been following you. It's always complimentary. I've been following you a long time. I've been reading your stuff, or I saw this video.
Of your hair.
You are so beautiful, you know. And then it's kind of just trying to, it's really a fishing almost. And it's trying to like, oh, well, will she respond back? And, you know, in a way, and you're just like, no one's ever commented on me on my looks, you know, on LinkedIn. So if there's any females out there or males, no judgment, that want to comment to me on LinkedIn on a message, go ahead. Like I would love that. I'd feel great. But that's me. I'm different than most. So.
They're looking for an opening. It's always the opening, and you can see like where the opening is trying to go.
It's just, I don't get it though. Like, why do they feel like, is that because LinkedIn has become and again, I'm not blaming LinkedIn for any of this. I think it's totally individual creepy behavior. It's not a hit on LinkedIn. Do we think LinkedIn could do more from a tech standpoint? Yeah, they probably could. But, you know, you're talking what, 800 million profiles, whatever the hell they have now. Like and then there's more every day. So as soon as you take one down, they just throw another one up and you're not going to stop it. So, I wanted to talk about it because of that. And then seeing, like, I always knew that this was one of those things that happened back in like when LinkedIn was first getting big, you know, was it 2012, whatever that might be. But then I was thinking like 2019, 2020, this no longer should be an issue, but it still is.
You know who would be all over LinkedIn in this regard? Don Draper. Don Draper from Mad Men would be savage on.
You should connect with him.
Master of messaging.
You should connect with him on LinkedIn. I'm sure he's got 43 profiles.
Don Draper from Wallingford, Connecticut. Software engineer.
All right. That's what we have for you on this episode of HR Famous. Dudes, stop being creepy on LinkedIn. Women, continue to be professional and don't be creepy with me or Chris. I'm just kidding. You guys have been totally professional. For Chris Dunn and Jessica Lee, I'm Tim Sackett. That's HR Famous for this week. We will see you guys all later. We are out.